Welcome to our fictional story lab. A security guard working night shifts in a mall notices mannequins changing positions and expressions. James Holloway never feared the dark. He had worked as a mall security guard for nearly a year, handling everything from lost children to shoplifters. The night shift had its perks: no customers, no bosses breathing down his neck, just the quiet hum of air conditioning and the occasional flicker of a dying fluorescent bulb. But lately, the quiet wasn't comforting. It was oppressive. Heavy. It started small. A mannequin that wasn't where it had been before. A shadow that seemed just a little too long. The feeling of being watched when no one was there. James told himself he was imagining things. That's what made it worse. He wanted it to be in his head. But it wasn't. James' shift usually began with a simple routine: check the cameras, walk the perimeter, and make sure all stores were locked. He always paid extra attention to Elegance Boutique, a high-end clothing store near the food court. Something about it unsettled him. The mannequins in the store were different from the others in the mall. More realistic. Some had delicate hands with individual fingers instead of stiff plastic clumps. Others had blank faces, but their features were slightly indented as if the impression of eyes, a nose, and a mouth were just beneath the surface. One night, while making his rounds, James noticed something odd. The boutique's mannequins were positioned in a specific way, 3 standing near the front, 1 posed near the register, another near the dressing rooms. He glanced at them briefly, making a mental note. But when he came back 10 minutes later, they had moved. Not much, just a slight turn of the head, a shift in posture. But it was enough. Enough for James to stop in his tracks, feeling his breath hitch. Maybe a worker stayed late, he muttered to himself. He checked the security footage. Nothing. The mannequins simply shifted between frames. One moment they were in place. The next, different positions, like a game of eerie musical chairs. James didn't sleep that day. Each night, the movements became more pronounced. At first, it was subtle. Then, one evening, he found a mannequin outside the store. Standing in the hallway, directly in his path. He checked the locks. The store was still secured. No one had gone in or out. His radio crackled. "Everything good, Holloway?" It was Marcus, the other security guard working the opposite side of the mall. James hesitated before answering. Yeah, all good." What was he supposed to say? That plastic figures were moving on their own. He returned to his security room and rewound the footage, his hands trembling. He fast-forwarded through hours of stillness, until, at exactly 3:33 a.m., a mannequin stepped down from its podium. James bolted from his chair. He had been patrolling at that time. It had moved while he was in the mall. The next night, James came prepared. He brought a small pocket knife and a flashlight with fresh batteries. The power had been flickering more than usual. He needed to be ready. At 3 a.m., the lights cut out. The mall was plunged into darkness. James pulled out his flashlight, the beam slicing through the pitch black. His radio let out nothing but static. He checked his phone, no signal. Then came the tapping. It started soft, like fingertips against glass. It grew louder. Closer. From all around him. James turned, his light catching glimpses of movement. A mannequin now stood in the hallway. Another was further down. Their featureless faces seemed to be stretching, forming something. Mouths. James turned and ran. He needed to get to the security office. He fumbled with his keycard at the door. Error. He looked up. The mannequins were running. Not stiff, robotic movements. Full-speed sprinting. James let out a strangled scream, shoving the door open just in time. He slammed it shut, locking it behind him. He backed away, his breath coming in gasps. The security monitors flickered. On every single screen, the mannequins were facing the cameras. Watching him. Then, the power cut out completely. James never clocked out. When the morning staff arrived, his station was empty. His flashlight lay on the floor, its batteries drained. His radio crackled weakly from beneath his desk. They checked the footage. The last thing recorded at 3:33 a.m. was James, wide-eyed, staring into the camera. And behind him, a mannequin's grinning face just inches from his own. When the footage cut back in at 6 a.m., James was gone. But a new mannequin had appeared inside Elegance Boutique. And it was wearing his uniform. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our channel.